This opening for black gives me the most fun playing chess as well as the highest win rate. Here is exactly how it works. It's round number 2 of my classical chess tournament in Gran Canaria. If you want to ever experience something amazing, I definitely recommend you take a look at this tournament. It's one in a lifetime experience. The organization is amazing. And my opponent played here the move e4. I played c5 because I am trying to learn a new opening. I'm trying to be as aggressive as possible. And the beauty of this opening is that it creates the imbalance in the position from move number 1. By the way, if you are serious about finally making a huge breakthrough in terms of your chess growth, I have made a completely free 30-day training plan. The link would be in the description. It already helped hundreds of people to finally achieve their goals. Don't miss this unique opportunity. You play c5. They play either knight to f3 or knight to c3. In my case, my opponent played knight to c3, but it's still not easy. Like, you cannot simplify the position a lot. And this is important when you want to outplay your opponent as black, which is often our task. I play against Fernandez Lozano Francesc, and he's 2042 rated player. So here's exactly how I take him down step by step using the Sicilian defense. I play the move knight to c6. This was my preparation. I knew that sometimes he plays this line. So after bishop to b5, I immediately played knight to d4. This is an exception of the golden principle, one move, one piece, which you usually apply in the openings, because this way you develop every single one of your pieces as fast as possible. But sometimes you do need to make an exception. You do that only in case you have a particularly active move which improves your position and at the same time creates a threat against your opponent. My knight is beautiful in the center of the board. In general, if you can put your knight into the center and it cannot easily be attacked and kicked away from your opponent, this is the best possible spot because your knight is controlling so many squares and is a real headache for your opponent. My opponent played bishop c4 because I want also attack this guy on c4. And now, without wasting any time, I immediately develop a new piece as active as possible. Knight f6. Now, again, it poses some questions. You want to apply as much pressure on your opponent as possible from the very first moves of your game. And the Sicilian defense is a perfect opening for that. It's not easy, because you do need to understand the ideas very well, and sometimes you really need to remember a lot of variations because you might get into trouble. Yet, you learn so much thanks to this opening. You have so much fun because thanks to the imbalance, you can attack basically from the very first moves. So knight f6, if you play the move e5, you really shouldn't do that because black has a tremendous response with the move d5. In the Sicilian defense, we are not in the reactive mode. We are not thinking, oh my god, my knight is under attack, how do I save it? No, we think, let me forget about this knight and go all in into the counterattack and destroy my opponent. This is the type of moves you are looking for in the Sicilian defense. You also are not scared away from the sacrifices because this is exactly what this opening, this very active and aggressive opening requires you to do. So my opponent didn't do that. He instead played the move d3, which is a little bit not active enough, and that alone already allows me to overtake the initiative. This is really how powerful this opening is. It's tough, but it comes with huge benefits. I play the move e6 because I want to make this d5 move possible anyway. Again, if he goes e5, I don't care about the knight, I play d5. So he plays here the move a4. I'm not sure why he does that. It feels to me like a waste of time. And remember, in the opening, you don't want to waste any time at all. This is the most precious resource you have in chess. And those a-pawn moves, h-pawn moves, please just ignore it unless it's like hugely important. Otherwise, focus on fighting for the center, on developing your pieces as fast as possible, and making sure your king is in safety. So here I am fighting for the center with the move d5 and winning another tempo. Every time you can make a move forward, a very active move, useful for yourself, at the same time creating a threat, so essential for your opponent so that he has to waste time to go backwards, to be less active afterwards. It's like a dream move, exactly what you are looking for in your chess games. Now I'm just taking the pawn on e4 here, continuing playing as active as possible. Notice that if you create threats with every single one of your moves, your opponent doesn't have time to do what he wants to do, right? This is so important in chess. Do something useful for yourself and create problems for your opponent at the same time. This is exactly why I play the move b6. I want to develop my next piece, this bishop on c8, but at the same time, I have now two beautiful squares. Depending on what my opponent wants to do, I either develop it to b7 and attack this pawn on e4, or I develop it to a6 and stop my opponent from castling. This is how huge it is to always and always make your opponent's life as miserable as possible. I already create troubles. He plays bishop e3, for example. He understands that, okay, he's probably not gonna castle short in this game. I'm just gonna stop it. I play bishop to a6, and that means he has to castle long side, but that requires you a lot of time, and this is more scary. He plays the move f3, which I think he played because he wanted to stop my knight g4 idea. So he wants to play queen d2, but he doesn't want me to play knight to g4, and that is why he plays f3. But now all of my pieces are in the really good spots, really active positions, and I'm ready to continue creating threats. Please pause the video for a second and try to find the best move for black here, because it's gonna allow you to actually go into this Sicilian mode and be the beast of chess. I hope you have taken your time. It's so much more useful for you, for your chess growth, if you really take your time and try to get those moves yourself. The right move, the best one, is queen to c7 here, the one I played, because this is the most active move. I don't care about the pawns. If you play the Sicilian, you should not care about the material too much. At the end of the day, your pawns and your pieces are just a resource for you to achieve the ultimate goal, give a checkmate. And so you use all of that to help you come closer to the goal. If you take here on d4, you waste a lot of time. Yes, you win a pawn as white. Happy, go for it. But you waste at least 2 tempi, because then you're gonna bring your queen to d4. I'm gonna play rook to d8, attacking this queen, and again you need to go backwards. Now, in the opening, one pawn is roughly worth 2 tempi. So if you can sacrifice your pawn to get 2 free moves and do something useful for yourself, it's in the most cases it's worth it. And it's so much more difficult for your opponent to play, because this pawn is only useful late into the endgame, but in the opening this time is so hugely important. This opportunity to be in the driver's seat and create those threats for the opponent is so important. In fact, here after bishop d4, pawn takes and queen takes d4, black is basically winning. So instead, my opponent was panicking, even though he is 2000 plus elo-rated player, likely stronger than you. He completely destroyed his entire position here with the move knight to b5, because he didn't know what to do. He was behind in terms of the development. He was scared that I'm gonna just come and destroy him thanks to this beautiful knight in the center here. The rook is coming, and this is super dangerous. But knight b5 doesn't really solve his problems. Yes, he is dealing with this knight, but I'm gonna have an extra pawn here, and I still continue my initiative. This is the best case scenario. You don't want to get passive, especially if you play the Sicilian. This opening just does not work if you play passively. Instead, you want to go forward, but if in the process you also can win some material, this is even better. In fact, I won one pawn here, but in a few moves I have won another one in a very cute way. He plays c4. Every single time your opponent makes a move, you forget about all of the plans you have and think for a second, what is the idea? In this case, it's simple. He's just attacking my bishop, but sometimes it might be much less obvious. Still, you always want to figure it out. Don't think that your opponent is stupid and he is just making random moves. This is the path to losing so many miserable games. So he plays knight e2, he tries to develop his pieces, but again, I combine now doing something useful for myself and creating a problem for my opponent. The best type of moves you can make and the best strategy you can have in chess to win so many more games, and of course to have fun, because the more miserable you make your opponent's life, the funny funnier it gets for you to play chess. I play here bishop d6, I attack this h2 pawn, and I stop my opponent from castling. He played knight d2. Yes, he doesn't create any threats for me, at least not immediately, but I still think, okay, what kind of ideas he has? Well, he wants to castle. Now, by moving bishop to d6, not only I develop a new piece, not only I improve my position, but I also stop my opponent's idea, because after castles, I'm gonna play bishop takes h2 and grab another pawn. It's not easy to develop it, to defend this pawn and continue your development as white. He plays queen to c2. I was thinking for a long time what I can do, came to a conclusion the most reasonable thing for me would be to castle, because I bring my rook to the open file. Remember, rooks love the open files. This is an incredible chance for you. And then I'm ready to attack here on the king side, and my king is not getting into trouble. Like if I go king side castling, the king, g4, h4, g5, you might imagine this attack possible. So the point of castles in chess is to bring your king into the safety zone. Sometimes it's here on g8, sometimes it's here on c8, and sometimes you just need to leave it in the center. So don't just automatically castle, but think where my king is going to be the safest. Now, my opponent finally castles, and he does it long side, but he cannot create any troubles for me here, and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm definitely better. How can I use that? How can I convert the advantage and actually win the game? Because so many players actually get a good position, but they cannot convert it. They cannot win. This is the biggest trouble you might have in chess. So in order to do that, you don't need to go crazy, yet you have to think in terms of the most active opportunities. And of course, in the Sicilian, you're trying to be more active than otherwise. Checks, captures, and threats. This is the three-step system that helps you to figure out the most active moves for yourself as well as for your opponent. It's very important to use it for both of you. You might be wondering, what is this magic board I use in my videos? It's called Chess Not Evo. And I enjoy it so much. I have it for a year now. It completely transformed the way I play chess and I train chess, because I can play both on Chess and chess.com online, but on a real board. It's a completely different experience, and I enjoy it a lot. I haven't had any major issues, and that's my favorite product from Chessnut, because I have everything in one place. I have my books here, I have my studies here, I have my games, but they have so many different products according to your needs and your budget. The best part is, of course, you can use the link in the description as well as the promo code journeytograndmaster to get a big discount on all Chessnut products. Now, back to video. I don't have any checks here, but I do have a capture. And as scary as it might feel, bishop takes h2 is actually possible, and I did it. I had a little bit of a flashback of the very famous move that Robert Fischer made in his match against Pasky. He took that pawn on h2, and that was a horrible blunder. He actually lost the game miserably, and the entire chess world was shocked by that move. But here I thought, okay, my opponent cannot actually play g4, I'm gonna take it. If you play f4, I'm gonna take the e4 pawn, and that will be the third pawn for the bishop, and then I can play knight g4 and actually defend it. So I was pretty confident about it, and it turns out it actually worked for me. My opponent played rook takes d8. I took it back, and now he played bishop b3. And I thought, like, okay, we have a normal position, but I have somehow grabbed two side pawns here, a pawn and h pawn, from my opponent's position. Otherwise, it's like a completely normal one. Yet I'm playing as black, so I'm already much better. This is the type of result the Sicilian defense brings you if you're very active, if you want to create this imbalance, and you're not scared away of taking your chances once you have it. How do you win this position? How do you bring the full point home? Well, first of all, you think about optimizing your pieces. You don't go crazy, but you ask yourself, what is my worst placed piece? This is a very important and useful practical tip that you can use in every single one of your games. Now, my bishop on h2, well, doesn't feel great. I have grabbed a pawn, but now it's time to come back. So I just played bishop to e5. This is the most active square. When you think, okay, how can I improve this piece that is not great yet? You try to find the most active square where it controls as many squares as possible and potentially creating as many problems for your opponent as possible. Bishop e5, he plays bishop d2. It's really difficult for him to figure out a good way to create some counterplay. Remember, the counterplay, the initiative, is the most important thing in chess. The player who is in the driver's seat, the one creating the threats, is so much more likely to win the game. So I just played h6. Again, I think myself what kind of weaknesses I might have, and I improve my position as much as possible. I'm not in a hurry. I am the one having 2 extra pawns here. So I'm not in a hurry to go all in into the attack and try to destroy my opponent. No, actually, he should be the one proving that he has some sort of counterplay. Otherwise, I'm gonna just optimize my position to the maximum ability and destroy him. He played rook to d1. Again, I ask myself, what is my worst piece here? And this knight on f6 is actually not doing much. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I improve it? Going back is not a great thing to do. And in general, whenever you ask yourself those questions, well, this is my piece, I want to optimize it, where should I go? Always start with the active moves going forward first, and only if it does not work, then proceed with everything else. So I played here knight to h5. I used this opportunity when my opponent's rook left the h-file so that I can improve and go forward. My opponent played here king to b1, and of course there are a lot of different ways to win this position. I don't want you to make all of the perfect moves. It's not what I am teaching, and it's not what's reasonable. Instead, I want you to use this strategy of applying as much pressure on your opponent as possible. Even if it's not perfect according to the engine, who cares? It's important that you play reasonable chess, that you have one consistent strategic plan in your middle game, and then you execute it holistically. Yes, of course, everything can happen and you have to take into account what your opponent is doing, but you still have to have this one key strategic idea. In my case, when I am so much higher in terms of material, I have 2 extra pawns, all I need to do is just simplify the position and exchange the pieces. I also want to make sure my opponent doesn't have any counterplay. So I'm thinking, okay, knight f4 is the way for me to achieve that. And we are very quickly come to the queen's endgame, which would be very, very instructive for you to learn from. The bishop takes f4 here. He takes back with the bishop. I just take it with the queen. Why it's so great for you to exchange your pieces when your material up? Well, because if you have 10 pieces and your opponent has 9, you have 10% more pieces. But if you have 2 against just 1, you have twice as many pieces, so it's so much better. Simplify the position, especially try to exchange queens. In my case, though, it wasn't that simple, and I actually got the toughest endgame that you might get to convert the queen's endgame. Because even if you have 2 extra pawns, with the queens on the board, you always have this risk of spoiling the position, of giving your opponent too much counterplay. In fact, I didn't take here the bishop. Instead, I played queen to c7 back. I wasn't too happy about this move. Like, generally, you don't want to go backwards, but sorry, I played queen to d6. But it worked out pretty well for me. So let's see. Bishop takes, queen takes, and now we do have this endgame. My opponent realizes he has two pawns down, so he has to go forward. He has to create some problems. He plays e5, which I must give credit is a very interesting move. Why? Because he creates a threat. It doesn't matter whether you're winning or you're losing, you want to go forward and you want to create as many threats for your opponent as possible. Why it's so important? Because it creates problem for your opponent, and the more problems he has to solve, the higher the chances that he's gonna blunder and actually make a mistake and you're gonna win the game. But you don't want to play hope chess when you make your position worse, potentially, just to create this one move threat. No, you want to combine in the same moves, improving your position, like going forward, occupying more squares, limiting your opponent's potential, and at the same time creating threats. This is the strategy that the strongest chess players use to outplay their opponents, and I want you to use it as well. e5 not only goes forward, but also creates this threat of queen to h7, and if I play g6, seems like I'm stopping my opponent, he has queen to g2 check, and then wins the h6 pawn. Now, thanks to some tactical complications, it does work for me, but I didn't want to allow it. Instead, I played queen to c7. I'm attacking this pawn on e5, so after queen to h7, I have queen takes e5. He plays queen to e4, stabilizing his queen, but all I need to do is also stabilize my position, make sure I have as few weaknesses as possible, and then I would be able to convert my material advantage. So here is how you outplay your opponent. Played king to e7, he plays f4. I want to bring my queen to the open file, queen to d7. And then I want to make sure that I have as few weaknesses as possible. To achieve that, I played here the move g6. Not only now I have few pawns hanging, but also I stop potential breakthrough from my opponent. Very, very important. Doesn't matter how great you think your position is, to keep an eye on your opponent's counterplay, on your opponent's ideas and threats, and try to stop it in the best case scenario. He plays queen to f3. I go h5, again stopping and having my pawn structure as solid as possible here. He plays b3, doing the same thing, but again, he has to prove something, not me. I'm 2 pawns up, I'm okay to wait and mobilize myself to the best possible position. For example, I remaneuvered this king all the way to g7. In the queen's endgame, the king's safety is a crucial factor, maybe the most important one. Before going all in into the actions, before creating threats against my opponent, I just want to make sure that my king is safe as possible. Try to do that in your games. He played king c2, trying to stop my queen from penetration. Well, I'm doing the same. I'm playing king to g7. And now he goes queen to h1, which is very logical. Even if you are much worse in your games, this is what you need to do. You want to create problems. So he played that. I now go a5. Very important move, because who cares if you have extra pawns if you don't use it, right? You want to use your extra material. Generally, you don't want any unemployment going on in your camp. You want every single piece and sometimes pawns to have a useful job to perform. And so I have an extra pawn here, but as long as they're just staying there, it's not useful for me. So I'm playing a5 because I want to push this pawn, and that is exactly what happened. After queen h4, I played a4, and I'm creating the threat. So you use the strengths of your position, in my case, extra pawns, and weaknesses of your opponent's position. In my case, this king on c2 is vulnerable, as well as his pawns. This particular b3 is vulnerable, and if I can get rid of it, then the c4 pawn would be in trouble. I combine all of that, my strengths, my opponent's weaknesses, into this holistic strategic idea of making my opponent's position weak, and then attack it. And so I play a5 and a4. He takes it. Now I take it back with the check. As always, you try to combine a lot of ideas in just one move. Not only I take this pawn back, I also attack my opponent's pawn, and I also give him a check. I was a little bit worried. Queen's endgame is so dangerous. Like, if I sleep for 1 second, he can establish some perpetual check, and then it doesn't matter how many extra pawns I have, I'm just busted. So I'm very careful. I play here queen to b4, king to d3, and now queen to b1. My idea is very simple. I give this check, the king goes away, and then I play queen to f5, because I stop this check from my opponent. This is everything I want to achieve. Now g5 is on my agenda, because as soon as I exchange the queens, I immediately win the game, right? The pawn endgame with 2 extra pawns is very, very easy to win. My opponent plays here king to e3, trying to stabilize. Now, I wasn't sure about g5. It actually still wins, but I thought he takes this pawn, and, you don't want to take unnecessary risks. Instead, I played this move f6. I thought this way I make sure that my king is never gonna be trapped here, no perpetual, and at the same time, as always, I create a threat for my opponent. Be as active as possible. Queen h1. Now I take this pawn on e5, I attack my opponent, queen to b7, check. Again, he tries to be as active as possible. This is his only chance. King h6. Now he plays queen to b8. Nobody cares about the pawns at this moment, but he wants to create a checkmate threat. If I'm not careful enough just for one single moment with my opponent's threat, I'm gonna spoil this entire game that I played so brilliantly, and I'm gonna lose the game. This is how important it is to think about your opponent's threats. It's never ever too late to spoil your game. So I'm taking here the f4 pawn with a check. Very important, as long as you make a check. Even if you have a checkmate in one threat, you still start thinking about your opportunities in terms of the most active moves: checks, captures, and threats. So check is always saving you from all of the troubles, and after g takes f, I just played queen to f6 back, covering that square and preparing some nested checks against my opponent. This is what happened. After queen takes b6, I played queen to c3, and that is a check, and the king doesn't really have a good square to go. In fact, my opponent played king to f3, but that doesn't help him because this move is illegal. Once he saw it, he resigned. I'm taking the c4 pawn, defending all of my pawns, attacking the f4 pawn, and it's just too much for him to handle. I hope this video was useful for you. Now you know how to use this aggressive opening, the Sicilian defense, to crush your opponent. And in this video, I share with you my free 30-day training plan so that you can take your chess to a completely new level. It's absolutely free. It helped hundreds of people to finally make progress in their chess, achieve their goals. And now it's your turn.